Hey guys, welcome back to the blockchain and real estate channel. This is Luke from CryptoProperties talking to you. And I was going to cover a little bit of today about some of the uses of blockchain in the residential real estate. You know, we talk a lot about the commercial space, but also there's a lot of uses for blockchain in the residential space. So in 2017, when we started our company, what was happening? Well, the first thing that was happening is people were selling homes for Bitcoin. We actually had an advisor on our team that was one of the first people in California to sell a house for like $15 million in Bitcoin. People were super excited about that. But what you've seen over time is that hasn't lasted, right? So it's much like trading a piece of art for a house. This is going to happen from time to time. Someone will have these assets. I think the invention of a stable coin was a much better way to buy houses anyway, because the value of the Bitcoin can fluctuate. Of course, it does even day to day, sometimes by many hundreds or thousands of dollars. So, of course, you can use a cryptocurrency to buy a house. But I think it's one of the more less likely ways that we're going to see blockchain used in the future. You probably see some stablecoin purchases, but more importantly, really is the idea of, leave crypto aside, how do we use blockchain to make our world better, more secure, and to protect ourselves? And so let's start with the idea of the title to your home. I see a lot of TV advertisements where people say, like, beware of title fraud. Someone can steal the title to in your name and transfer it to theirs. Identity theft type of issues. Now, what we see around the world now is some countries are actually using blockchain to protect their citizens and their citizens' properties. And so one of the ways that you do this is you take all the data that you have on the land titles or the land deeds, and you digitize them. And then after they're digitized, you print them to the blockchain. Now, if you saw some of our other videos, what you'll realize is I can put any data on the blockchain. So let's say that Luke wants to say he owns the Sears Tower in Chicago. I can go out and put on the blockchain, Luke owns the Sears Tower in Chicago. Of course, I do not. But the idea is you have to be careful when we write to the blockchain that we make sure that the data being put on the chain is correct. Then we know that before that date that it was put, that's what has happened, right? So generally what you do is you collect all this data through a government agency, and then the government agency will pick a day, say January 1st, 2023, January 1st, 2024, and they'll put all of the land titles and the land deeds that they've collected on the chain. Now we know that as of this date, this person had ownership. Now, one of the great things for residential real estate is we have something we call the title search in the United States. And that means every time you buy a house, you have to pay someone title insurance to go back and check your title and make sure you can really buy the house. And that if you pay them for the house and you later find out they didn't have the title, what happens? You're safe, right? We like to be safe with our insurance in the US. But really, this takes a lot of research and a lot of cost. If we start to put things on the blockchain, it makes it easy, right? Because then we only have to go back on that title until the time it was originally put on the blockchain. And every time we sell that house, we can update it. So this is one idea with blockchain that gets a lot of press. It's very interesting and it's a good use. Now, what's the challenges? The challenges are, in the US, we don't have a top-down approach. So in some countries in the world, the idea of putting on the blockchain land titles and deeds for homes, etc., is easy. There's a king or there's a ruler and he says, do this, boom, done, right? In the US, actually, every county in every state within our country has its own way of doing things. So I think it's going to be a long time before all of our land records are put on the blockchain. It can be done, but it's a big lift for a private company to do because you have to deal with so many different localities, each having its own law. You saw Cook County, I believe it is, in Illinois, which is part of Chicago. A few years ago, they started to work on this concept and this idea. But I think you're going to see this adopted in other countries long before we finish out the adoption of it in the States, just because everything in the States is already so decentralized. One of the great things about the blockchain, though, in this particular idea, is if you think about like what's going on in Ukraine, where another country comes in and they take over, what generally happens? They seize all that land. They say this land belongs to us. Actually met a guy in Dubai last year, and he told me, he said, I'm sad. I said, why? He said, I worked here for 10 years and I bought a house. He said, in the city I bought my house in Ukraine is gone. He said, so I invested all of that money. Now, of course, the blockchain's not going to put his house back. But what it can do is it can make a record of ownership that's decentralized. So no single government invading a country can now take over and say, hey, you don't own this land. So it does open up the idea that in outside court proceedings, something like the European Court, etc., that people could later bring cases. Now, again, I'm not saying that will ever happen, but having this record of ownership that can even survive in cases of war is very important. So blockchain has a lot of capability when it comes to this housing of data, saving data, and data and time-stamping data within the residential market. Another thing that you might want to consider is warranties. So if you ever buy a new house, that house is under warranty. But what does that really mean? Sometimes houses have multiple warranties. So the builder gives you a warranty. You may have a dishwasher, a hot water heater, an air conditioner. They all have warranties. When that house begins to change hands, those warranties are lost. So, the first house that I ever bought, I remember I have a big, thick file of warranties. This is somewhere that blockchain can help us. If we take every time we build a house, if we were to take the data from that house and we were to blockchain it, if we have builders who take this and blockchain it, then that data can pass from owner to owner and allow them to take advantage of some of the benefits that would be lost to them if a house transfers ownership. So those are just a couple uses in the residential market. We'll talk about more later, but certainly I believe we're heading into the heyday for blockchain and looking forward to being a part of it. Have a great day, and subscribe to the channel if you're interested in our videos on how blockchain applies to real estate. If you have any specific questions, always happy to answer them. Have a great day.